Hi everyone, welcome back to the Renewable Radio podcast. Thanks to our sponsors that make this possible every time we do it, the Hale Group. The Hale Group is a renewable installation company covering boilers, solar, battery and heat pump installations across the UK. Today I've got Anita with me from Be Eco. Thank you very much for coming back on the podcast, for coming on the podcast. You're a subject matter expert in grants and you're going into the private market as well. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me, Ashley. I was thrilled with the opportunity and I thought, yes, let's do this.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I feel like your values that you and the company have, and you've been working with the grants for a number of years now, and I feel like it's vitally important information that the consumers that listen to and watch the podcast should know. So tell me a little bit about the company, about yourself, and what's going on with you.
Right, Anita Baines from Be Eco. We're a family-run business. We've been working with grants now for some years, currently working on home installations, external wall, internal walls, room and roofs, etc. We'll go into later. And we have been working on the grants, but they've been pulled back. So there's been limited grants, so that's been forcing us to go into more of the private sector.
Yeah, diversifying,
and that's what we've been working on at the moment.
Yeah, great. So within the grant process, how does it work? So, are you working with funders? Are you working on behalf of Ofgem? What's your process with it?
So basically what you mean, like from getting accredited, and doing the actual installation. So, I mean, for the customer's point of view, they'd call in and ask, whether they'd be eligible. The first thing we do is actually look at the EPC rating and see how we can help them where they're at.
What is an EPC rating?
So it's an energy performance certificate. It's carried out by domestic energy assessors. And you can find it on you can Google it and you can find it on the internet, energy performance certificate. Just type in your postcode and it will come up with your energy rating.
Does every home have it?
Most homes have it, but if you've been in your home and not bought or sold in the last 10 years, you may not have it.
Okay.
So, most homes have it, but not everybody necessarily has one. It's only when you're buying and selling a house that mostly require one. Okay,
and what's the rule of thumb with the EPC rating? Say you think you may be eligible for a grant, which we'll go into further into the podcast. Why does the EPC matter?
Well, the energy performance, it's actually looking at the property and seeing what the actual current situation is, how well it's insulated, and if there's room for improvement.
So the efficiency of the property.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about efficiency, is whatever heat source or whatever you have, how efficient is that property?
Is that staying in the property or is it just going out the roof?
Yeah, exactly. So like if you've got your heating on, say 20 degrees all the time, like I've preached previously in the past, the efficiency is how long that heat stays in your property. That's where insulation comes in. Absolutely.
People don't actually realise the importance of installations. You buy your house, you're excited. You've got you've seen your house, you see the walls, you see the roof. You think, yes, I've got my house. But the last thing we don't really look at is thinking, well, how well is it insulated? Because without the correct installations taking place, you could be losing money day in every single day. It's the most important factor would be like if it's a loft insulation, for example, you'd be losing heat right out your roof.
Yeah. Because heat rises.
Absolutely, because heat rises, so that'd be the first place to look at, and with cold homes, again, going back to cold homes, it's triggering ill health. People don't even realise that their health is being triggered because their house is cold.
and their mental health, really, you know. So, like the stress of owning your own home and running your own home. If your energy efficiency is low, then that means that you're spending more on your utility bills. You're heating your property, you know, from your gas boiler, how hot you're turning your thermostat up, and it's really just going out to the walls or
just
through the roof.
Just wasting money, you know. So, like we mentioned, mental health, depression, and it's all triggered. A lot of people don't even realise it's associated with their cold house. It's not something you look at thinking these are where the problems are actually being sourced from.
Yes.
So it's very important. Like they say, a warm home is a happy home.
I agree with you,
You know?
definitely. Yeah, 100%. So that EPC rating, then, that's done by a separate person or a coordinator or assessor?
A retrofit assessor. So our surveyor, you know, will go out, retrofit assessor, look at all these. So they'll spend, you know, time in the property, taking all the correct information, come back and then look at the readings that's coming up for that property.
Like a heat loss calculation is done by the assessor?
At this stage, it's more to do with that would come into play more with the actual air source heat pumps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's when that's more kicks in with. So this is then looked at, and if it's an E rating property, then most likely that can qualify for like Eco 4.
Okay, so Eco 4 is, I believe, the grant out there at the moment for homes in the UK.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot of it's. I mean, it includes external wall, internal wall, room and roof, flat roof, loft insulations. If it's an electric property, then you could be looking at air source heat pumps and solar.
Yeah.
Then you've got the non-condensing boilers and.
Yeah. So the Eco 4, what is the qualifications for the consumer to be able to qualify from the?
It's quite for the actual funding. It's quite wide. It's the first place is let's say it's beyond benefits. If you look on the actual website for eco funding, there's a whole list of areas where people can qualify.
What are the qualifications? So I say benefits. What benefits do they need to be on to be able to qualify, or does that change?
There's been some changes recently. I mean, they've taken off what used to qualify was child benefit, so that's been taken out now.
So if you're on child benefit, you don't necessarily qualify?
No, that doesn't count. PIPs used to qualify. That doesn't qualify now.
What is PIPs?
Oh, I don't remember the name of that one now.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah. So
it's like the tax, if you're on income tax credit, job seekers allowance.
Oh, so like low income
universal
families.
Credit.
Yes, okay.
Pension credit, that qualifies.
Okay, so what is the minimum, what is the maximum household income to qualify for any of these?
Yeah,
things?
so maximum household income is like 31,000.
31,000. So that 31,000, does that have to split from every
it's the whole household.
Earner? Yeah.
Yeah, the whole household income.
Oh, okay. So it's so if one.
So that's.
Yeah, go on.
Before so that's before. It's before tax. I've got to double check that one.
I'm unsure. So
yeah.
We'll find out that information anyway. So it's more or less for low income families, you know.
Yeah. So that's the Eco 4. And then there's also Great British Installation Scheme, what's called GBIS.
GBIS, yes. View that.
So GBIS is more based on the property. So it's a council tax, council tax band of A, B, C or D.
Okay. What does that mean then if they're in A, B, C or D? Does that mean...
If they've got a D-rated property, for example, below, so they could get some sort of home insulation.
Oh, okay.
So they can qualify, but they'd have to contribute.
What's the minimum contribution?
It varies on what you're having done
to
the property. So your contributions could, if it's like external wall insulation, you could contributing anything between £4,000 and £8,000.
Okay.
Depending on the grant, so it could be more. It depends on the size of the house. It depends on.
So it's all depending on the property. So each person and each property it's more bespoke. It's not a one size fits all, because we see a lot of negative information out there about grants and stuff like that.
We always get, oh, well, my neighbours had this done, and, why can't I get this done? Well, your property's different and the ratings are different to their property, so you can't have the same as your neighbour.
And the household incomes, people's circumstances are different from their neighbour,
absolutely.
And like, it's not a one size fits all. It has to be done to each individual case, I suppose.
Yeah, it's every household on their own merit, so you can't say, oh, they've had it done and why not me? You have to look at every property on its own, and the family household on its own merit.
Because sometimes we don't see the struggles of our neighbour, on outside perception.
Yeah.
They might just look like what your individual circumstances is, but behind closed doors, it may be different. So I feel like everyone should take that into consideration. It's not a grants process, a one size fits all.
Absolutely.
They had it, so I should have it. It depends on the people's circumstances.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
I mean, you could only, make a phone call and find out, or, check your EPC ratings, always the first place to start. And make a phone call just to check if you are eligible for anything.
So
Even if you don't know, it's just a question, isn't it?
So it starts with a phone call.
Absolutely.
So if you know that there's potential people doing grant work in your street, or you potentially think that you may be eligible, or you just want to ask the question, pick someone that is offering this service, have a phone call with them and start that process.
Absolutely, have a conversation and find out.
Yeah, because you never know, you may be eligible for partial funding or even full funded energy efficiency works on your home, which, like, the benefits are, like, you go down the renewable route, and it can, if done correctly, designed and installed properly, it can be very, very beneficial.
Oh, absolutely. It's life-changing for many. Like I said, be a warmer home's everything. It helps with your health, your mental health.
Yeah.
And reducing your bills.
Yeah, which is obviously a big thing for me, and what I'm trying to preach is,
absolutely.
Energy efficiency and utility savings. And if it can be funded, then I feel like that's a very good option.
I mean, it is, there's many people out there that can't, they're on low incomes, and that's why they can't afford these things. And we're in a position where we can help and support those families and those homes for those reasons. And
just because they're on a low income, there's no reason why then they should be paying like crazy numbers for their utility bills. If anything, we need to look at it as a whole nation, trying to reach our net zero target.
Yeah.
And if we have to support a low-income family that is struggling, I feel like we should do that, as a nation. And
absolutely help, where you possibly can, and support people where we possibly can.
Yeah. So talk to me about the installations that you guys do. So you said you do external wall insulation.
Yeah, we predominantly do external wall installations. So this is almost like putting a coat on your house, So
that's a great way to think about it. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So it's like, it's 100 mil thickness of insulation that goes on, and it gives it a beautiful render finish, so your house ends up looking absolutely like brand new almost.
Wow.
The compliments we get, the customers are absolutely chuffed with the way it's looking all crisp and neat and tidy again.
Yeah, I've seen obviously lots of the work that has been done, and it does. It can revamp the home or the property to no end, really, and the added bonus that it reduces your utility bill as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I've changed with the external wall, before was like the roof line. So before, where they used to just use like the verge trims, then they introduced like the roof overhang.
Yes.
So it's giving it more support and looking after the external wall.
And keeping all the heat inside.
Yeah.
What other insulation do you do? So external?
Yeah, we do external, also internal. Now, a lot of people think they lose a lot of room inside the property. So internal wall insulation. So you'd actually carrying out the internal wall on the external walls.
Okay.
So it'd be like, for example, if it's a mid-terrace property, it'd be like the front wall facing the street and then the back one.
Okay.
Living room, for example, on the back end. So it's not like you're losing a whole load of space. So it's worth looking into it, and it does help save a lot more money as well.
Yeah. So
keeping the heat in the property.
And that's key. One of the frequently asked questions we get when it comes to insulation is, if I have internal wall insulation, will I lose half my room? I know that's a little bit of exaggeration, but like, how thick is it, and what effect really does it have on the size of the room?
I wouldn't say, I mean, it depends on the size of the room in the first place, I mean, if you've got big bay windows, for example, it's not going to have any effect, hardly, really, because you're not using that space anyway.
Yeah.
But if it's a semi-detached property, so you'll be looking at more elevations of the property.
Yeah.
So the thickness is about 100 mil. We end up at about 100 mil.
Is that, say, 100 mil in total?
No, it's in 100 mil thickness on the actual insulation. That's why it's coming out that much.
So 100 mil is not, it's what, 10 centimetres?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not a great amount.
Yeah,
if you think about it, really, you're not going to notice it.
Yeah, if you don't want to do external wall insulation, and it's worth thinking about internal wall insulation. It's a cheaper option if you're doing it on the GB's project, for example.
Yeah.
So you're not, you might be able to just get away with paying, I don't know, sometimes it works out like a third towards it or something.
Is it? So it's cheaper for the consumer too?
Yeah, it's cheaper for the consumer.
Okay, that's good. And how do you do it then? Do you frame it and then put the insulation?
Absolutely.
Within the frame?
Yeah, so you've got the frame, the battens, and then the insulation goes in the membrane,
yeah,
the waterproof membrane with the plasterboards and the plaster finish.
What does the waterproof membrane do?
It prevents like damp or water getting into the insulation.
So one of the questions we get asked quite a lot is about damp when you're talking about insulation. So by putting the procedures in with the membrane and the framing of it, does that prevent the damp?
What's very important, firstly, is when the survey is carried out at the beginning of the property, in the early stages, is to make sure that there isn't already damp in the property, and if there is, that needs to be treated at that stage.
Yes.
And then once the actual installation's gone up, ventilation is very important, so we've got to make sure that the house is properly ventilated.
Because of condensation?
Absolutely.
Do you find that most damp in a property is ventilation, or is it because of obviously rising damp, or what would you say?
Currently, at the moment, I mean, it's various, it's a mixed bag, but ventilation is very, very important, and to have the proper airflow through the property is key.
Because with obviously energy efficiency and everyone to keep all the heat in the home, if it's not ventilated properly, then it's just sweating on the inside.
Yeah, you get condensation and
then
issues.
And then people are panicking then about damp.
People are drying their clothes in their houses and the windows aren't open and they're wondering what's going on.
Yeah, so
these are all the problems they're having.
But you guys, I know from the values that you have within your business, you are advising all these people and trying
Absolutely, yeah. We give them the advice that they need to keep the window open when they're especially after showering, bathing and cooking.
Yeah, because we're trying to lower utility bills that much and keep all the heat in.
But at the same time, keep it well ventilated.
Yeah, it's key.
It's a balance. It's a balance. It's an education, I suppose, that you don't think it's going to affect your property. Yeah. But you've got to look at everything.
But that's where the aftercare comes in.
Absolutely.
And the compliance with dealing with these customers and making sure that the whole process runs smoothly is just checking on them.
Yeah,
giving them the right advice and, like I said, advising them properly.
Education, it's educating the customer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I didn't know, and it was only when I've got involved in this industry that I've learned. It's not something I've ever thought about.
Because we don't, like when you buy a home, you automatically, like you said, think, oh yes, this is it now.
Yeah. We're
here, like we haven't got to worry about everything. We got a roof over our head, but there's a lot more that goes into it, and like heating your home is massive, but also being efficient with keeping that heat and doing it properly so you don't have you don't have damp is obviously a key point.
Yeah, absolutely, that's key.
What other types of insulation is there?
There's the room-in roof,
Okay.
which is, again, it's like an attic roof, for example, that's been converted, so the top room's been converted into an attic, so you've got your room-in roof there. It's a similar system as the internal wall.
Yeah.
That gets insulated there. It could be like, you could use like the PIR boards, the insulation boards.
So do you do all the board? So what will you do? You'll put the insulation down and then board over the top of it, is that right?
Yeah, with that, it's done ahead, so it's using special, the actual boarding, and then a plaster finish.
Okay, nice. So you'll do all that as well?
We do all of that. We also do the flat roof insulations as well. And flat roof insulations are done from the outside.
So room-in insulation is done from the inside and flat roof insulation is done from the outside?
Outside, yeah.
Okay. Are those principles the same with regards to the thickness and...
Yes, it's about sort of 100 mil thickness, so it's quite... the special materials, that's my husband's area that he deals with, what's materials in depth. But yeah, that helps, again, to keep all the heat.
Yeah, and it's all about keeping that heat in, but doing it so the home breathes. The home is like an ecosystem on its own, You've got heating, hot water, efficiency, efficient electricity, your own electricity generation with solar, and now the insulation on top is getting that ecosystem to work correctly, which is efficient and keeping the home healthy.
Keeping it healthy, absolutely.
Yeah. Any tips you'd give to people when thinking that they may be eligible for grants, to do a bit of research on their own terms so that they're informed when looking into it?
You mean like to find out if they're going to be eligible?
Yeah, so like what tips, like what websites do you recommend they look at?
The Ofgem website will help and guide you on that, for sure.
So Ofgem, they're like the governing body.
Yeah. If you type in Eco4 eligibility criteria,
is it like a calculator thing that comes up?
It'll be like a list of what qualification or who qualifies.
Oh, okay.
Also, obviously, first, like I said, the first place to see is your EPC rating as well.
Yeah. So EPC rating, it's on like a chart, isn't it? And A is the very best, and it goes down to F, does it?
It goes down to F.
Yeah. So within that scale, I know the government want every home to be a C. So that
so the Eco4 is actually about bringing it's worked on a whole house approach. So you're doing a lot of the work, be loft insulation, external wall, it could be heating controls. So it's got to be able to bring the rating up by 2 bands.
Okay. There's a minimum of 2 bands.
Yeah.
Is it not just to a C, or is it to 2 bands?
Well, it's most likely they're most likely at E's, and then it's getting them to a C.
Okay.
Especially, so that's what the Eco4 is, the whole house approach. So there's a lot of
it's a lot of aspects going into it
on that one.
Yeah. And once you get it up there for the consumer, what benefits are you seeing from your customers once they've had the full house approach?
Well, customers are definitely happier because they're firstly warmer.
Yeah.
They could feel the difference, the house being warmer, and also they're reducing their bills.
Yeah. Which is obviously a good thing to happen.
On top of the carbon, emissions and stuff. So it's definitely.
It's great. Better. Yeah. So I know the insulation. Any other insulation that you want to talk about? So just the loft insulation.
The first place I'd highly recommend is to look at your loft insulation. Is it done? Is it done correctly? Because, like we said, heat rises, and the first place that you're going to lose heat is from your loft.
Yeah.
And then that is so important, and that will make a massive impact straight away just to get that.
Yeah. So start with the loft. Is there any databases that they may have moved into a new home and they don't know how the property is insulated? If there's been insulation put in those properties before, is it saved on a database anywhere where the customers could look?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if there's like historically a records of home installations, but it's funny you mention that because recently we've sort of joined with Checker Trade and
Yes.
getting a lot more private work through, and it's always the people that have just bought houses
Yes.
that are contacting us saying, "Oh, we just bought this house and we need the loft. You know, it's old insulation in there." So
Yeah.
we go out, give them a quote, get the insulation done, and they're chuffed with it,
Yeah, great.
making an impact straight away.
And that's what we want, we want to make an impact. We want people's bills to be lower, and we want consumers to be warmer and not have to,
Yeah.
be sat at home with two coats on, with one light on. That's like the big thing for me, So installation-wise, what other aspects are involved within this grant process? I know on some homes you can do solar. You're a solar accredited company as well.
If it's an electric property, then you could look at air source heat pumps and solar.
Yes.
So that, I think it's going to kick in. I mean, it's happening now anyway, but I think that's where it's pushing for the next grant in about March next year. It was mostly to do with
a solar heat pumps,
renewables,
zoned heating, unvented hot water systems, split central heating. Smart controls is another big one.
That's another big one that's been, I mean, they're using that even with the external walls, like the insulation side of things is to upgrade them with smart controls as well.
Are boilers available on the grants?
See, boilers, it's the non-condensing boilers that are qualifying for the grant.
So how you know if your home has a non-condensing boiler is if it's 20 years old or older, it's probably not going to be a condensing boiler. But a quick rule of thumb is to look at your boiler and you'll see like a white plastic pipe coming down from the bottom of the boiler.
Yeah,
and if that comes down, then that's a condensed pipe. So if it doesn't have that, then it's most likely going to be a non-condensing boiler. And if it is, you've got more chance of getting funding available for a grant and a free boiler or a free heat pump or a free grant, I suppose, than if your boiler's a condensing boiler.
But then there are other grants out there that we've got to look at. So it's best to look on the internet or contact, local council and find out what other grants are available.
Yeah.
Because for boilers, I believe there is other ones as well available.
It's like the Green Deal and stuff like that. What stuff's available?
There's the boiler. Oh gosh, I can't remember
the bus scheme,
the name.
The boiler upgrade.
Yeah, that one, the boiler upgrade.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it's best to find out. So it's always something or another out there. So it's always best to find out and be asking the local council.
So do your research.
Do your research.
Definitely. Do your research. Speak to the local council. Find out as much information as you can about your home and know your home, and then try and contact one of these or a grant supplier and see if you're eligible. Because sometimes we may think that we're not going to be accepted. But in some cases,
sometimes
you're surprised.
Get surprised, yeah, absolutely.
So there's lots of options out there.
And even those people that are working and thinking, oh, I'd never get it. We did one recently with, not entitled to a grant, and they found out they actually were.
Yeah.
So people that think they're not eligible because of the, income, but they're in the right council tax band.
Yes.
And find that they are actually eligible for something.
That's great. And also, if you're suffering from like health issues, so like I know if you've got like asthma and things like that, then you've got a better chance of getting it as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. With respiratory problems, or even children on school dinners.
Okay.
It's one of the criteria. So there's a whole variety of criteria that you could look at and see if you fit into any of those. Okay,
that's great. So when you're doing all these different aspects of the grant work, what compliance is involved from an installer's perspective to make sure that it's getting done correctly? Because it's all good and well, having a free installation, but what we've been finding is, unfortunately, that people are having free equipment in their home. They're having a fully funded package, but then their utility bills are through the roof. You know, we've had people crying, we've had people asking how to use this system. We've had actual people without hot water for 9 months in their property.
I mean, that's
after a grant.
incredible. I mean, to hear that that's actually happening out there, because I don't know how it's happening. Because we're accredited, and then we're also audited.
Yeah, you
so
said.
It's not only that, everything's checked in house.
Yeah.
To make sure everything's in place. You've got to be looking for, qualified installers, qualified. The materials have got to qualify. Are you using the right materials?
Yes.
Are they, installed correctly? And we have photographic evidence every step of the way to make sure things are done. So it's not only just checks made by the suppliers to issue the warranties, but then also checks made later on by the funders, by the coordinators, and then it goes on for checks made by Trustmark.
Yeah.
So the checks are not just once or twice; it's several times.
It's numerous times
numerous times to make sure everything's done to a T.
How are these people getting away with it?
I've got no idea.
You know, because it's worrying for me. Like I've said, I could count numerous occasions where people have had grants done on their home and they're in a worse position. You know, it's supposed to be to fight fuel poverty and to reach our net zero target, but then people are spending 3-4 times a month more on their utility bills because they've had a free installation.
Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. I don't know how or why.
So does it come down to the installation company and choosing the right one?
Yeah, you've got to be careful. I think do your own checks and find out from who the company is, how they work, how they're going to service you. Make sure you're asking them, what they're going to be issued with at the end of it. Do they get a handover pack?
Yeah.
What support they have.
Yeah.
When you ring them a few times, you get a feel for the company
You
as
can
well.
tell. Yeah. So with regards to the grants, do you look at it, or shall we look at it as consumers as the same way as if we're having a new boiler or we're having a new kitchen or a new bathroom? Like I say to everyone, get 3 quotes. Well, it's not quotes because it's going to be free, but speak to 3 companies.
Yeah, you're better off trying to find out which company you feel like you can trust to do the installation. That's key.
Look at their reputation.
Absolutely, because what we find is, we haven't advertised a whole load as yet.
Yes.
We're getting a lot of referral work.
Which is good. That's the, that's when you know that it's a good company. If you speak to someone who's had a grant in your street and they've had it with like a company like yourself and they speak very, very highly of you, which I know that people do, then that's a good indicator that it's a good company, But if people have had it in the street and they're complaining about the cost of their utility bills or something like that, just because they had it for free, that's a good indicator that potentially one stage of the installation, whether it was the install, the design, or the aftercare process, hasn't been correct. So potentially get 3 companies in, speak to those 3 companies, sit down with them, get all the information and choose the right package for you. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, there's no harm in still, just getting a feel for who you're working with, and you would like to do the work, the installation in your property.
Yeah.
Ask them questions and take it from there.
What questions should people be asking?
Well, it's like, what materials would you be using?
Yeah.
Are they accredited?
Yeah.
What would be the warranty?
Yeah. What warranties are usually involved in this type of work?
Well, external wall insulation is the standard, would be the 25-year warranty.
So it's a 25-year warranty with external insulation?
Yeah.
What about internal insulation?
That's the same.
So 25 years internal and external. What about roof? So flat roof.
Yeah. I've got to check that one. We've just done one recently. There's a new area.
Oh, is it?
Check that.
So that's to be continued. We'll find out the warranties on that.
Yeah.
What about the other types of insulation? Is it usually 25 years?
No, you got your loft insulation's 2 years.
Okay, loft is 2.
Then you've got your internal wall insulation. That's it. That's a 25
25.
years. And room in roof. I've got to double check that one.
What
I'll
about
have to edit
flat
that.
roof? No, it's all right. Yeah, flat roof.
Yeah, I'll have to double check that because we've just recently done them. And what it is, the submissions girl who used to process that part's gone, so I'm taking over that part. Just
okay.
double check the figures on it.
Yeah, I got you.
I've got to check that.
So with regards to the solar aspect now, obviously you're a solar registered company. Have you been doing solar on the grant work as of yet?
No, we haven't done any solar work on the grant work.
But that's coming though, yeah? You
That,
will be doing that soon?
That'll be kicking in next year.
Yeah. You're going to do the heat pumps?
So it's an area we'll be looking at.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at, so we've got to get a proper understanding of what's required first.
Yes,
And then
of
see
course.
if that's deliverable.
Yes.
So sometimes you find that the projects are not really realistic and, you've got to check that, make sure it's all deliverable.
Yeah.
And we got the right
Team. Yeah.
behind it.
Because there's no point doing this stuff unless we do it properly, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
We want it right for the people that we're working with. We want it to be designed, installed, and the aftercare has to be top notch.
Absolutely.
You know, because
There's
it's
no point doing, heatings and find out the customers without hot water or any heating,
It's
and, and their solar's not working, so that's not good at all.
Yeah, and that's the problem that was, especially in Wales. I think like Wales, the housing stock in Wales is obviously a lot further behind.
But then when they're hearing nightmare stories like you've been talking about, Ashley, it's quite scary that's what they're visualising now, and that's putting them on, it's frightening. It's frightening for other people. That's what they're seeing and that's what they're hearing. So that's the message they're receiving.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be the case. Like
Absolutely.
we are going into, as I've said, you've asked for advice from you with going into this grant structure, because I believe the knowledge that I have in every sector of the grant process will be beneficial for these people having grants, or just people going down the renewable journey. So if we can then design, install and provide the aftercare that we already provide for hail heating in this grant structure, then it is only going to benefit the country, really, because we do it properly.
It's about getting that confidence level back up.
Yeah.
And that's what's needed right now.
Yeah.
It's what's needed, definitely.
And I think there's a lot of like misinformation about the grant stuff and about renewable energy, and like that's why we're doing the podcast, and thanks again for coming on. It's given these consumers the right information so that they've got confidence. So then when they have confidence in what's deliverable and the aftercare, they'll know if something's wrong. So they can nip it in the bud on day one, week one, because they know it's not right.
Yeah.
And then they can chase it up with the governing body, with Ofgem, or first of all with the installation company doing it. Then if they don't rectify, then take it to the next step, which would be like MCS or...
Yeah, the accreditors. It's always one of the questions actually to ask is, who's the...
Are you accredited?
Yeah.
Are the companies accredited doing this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are the accreditation bodies with regards to the installation?
Well, like with us, it's NAPIT.
Yes.
So it depends on, you have to speak with the companies and find out
who they're with. Like I know
with.
it's NAPIT, NICEIC, if they're gas safe registered, if they're MCS registered, any others?
Trustmark.
Oh yeah, you've got to be Trustmark with a grant. Like we are Trustmark as well. I believe if you're not Trustmark, you can't do any grant.
Yeah. So you've always So you got your insurers in place, your own insurance in place. There's a lot of your gas engineers all certified, your electricians all certified. So just making sure your installers, the whole team. So so you should have enough confidence then to go with those.
Yeah, and look at the reviews. So like even though they're offering you grants for free, and you think, oh my God, it's going to be for free, I can't look at anyone else, it's likely another company offering you grants will be able to do that for you for free anyway. So like do your research, sit down with a company, look at the reviews, speak to them about
Absolutely.
the aftercare and the design, and make sure it's right for you.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
definitely the way forward for it. That's the best advice you can give, Ashley.
Yeah, and it's very important,
It is important because it's your home.
Yeah, and the nightmare stories out there. If we all work together and we all got the right information,
Absolutely.
then those stories
Put the lid on it.
they'll stop. Because everyone will be informed,
Yeah.
nor misinformed. Great stuff. We got a couple of frequently asked questions from our viewers. So the first one is from Paul, and he asks, how can consumers select the right installer? I know we've just gone over that, but if you can just briefly tell us what...
Yeah, just ask them, who they are, where they're from, how experienced they are, who they're credited with, what materials they'd use, what installers, and ask those sort of questions.
Great. So what we're finding in Wales, sorry to keep on going back to Wales, but we're finding that there's a lot of companies that are not Welsh companies, and they are like from Liverpool or from Leeds or from X, Y, and Z across the UK, Scotland in some cases, that are using installation teams and sending them down to Wales to do all the work. And then obviously once it's done, they get the money and then they never get heard of again. So with that being the case, is it better to look for
Definitely
companies
look at locally.
regional to where you are?
Always regional. I mean, we work predominantly in the West Midlands area and we don't really want to go out of that area.
Yeah.
And there's enough work around us and then we're available for the aftercare.
Yeah.
And that's, it's important that you go to somebody that's in the Wales area because they could support you better.
Yeah, it's the same. Anyone in the West Midlands area, look for local companies. Anyone from up in the north, look for companies local to you that carry out this work. Any people in Scotland, look for Scottish installers in your area. And, you need to do that so that, God forbid, something bad happens within your installation, that, it's easy accessible for them to come back.
Absolutely. And hail heating, as it's all about customer service. And that's the most important thing, and that you've got that understanding, because not every company has that understanding and the importance of it.
A lot of these people are doing it like for profit only. There's no customer care. They don't really care what your bills are at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're just looking at the front end installation and what they're going to get from it. Like the conversations I've had within this industry, when I've been, it's probably like the best kept secret in construction, if I'm honest, talking about these grants, because I spoke to multiple people within the sector about how to get funded and how to do things correct. And some of the conversations I've had, not from you, because all the conversations I've had from you has been about the consumer and doing best for your customers. But some other companies I've spoke to that offer grants, how they tell me to do it is, you've got to install X, Y, and Z to get the most profit out of the job. Well, personally, I think that's the wrong way to be looking at it. We should be looking at
what's best for the customer
and how to help the customer the best way. Yeah, so maximize their efficiency. And that's why you were on here and I'm talking to you about the grant stuff for the consumers, is because your company values are the same as mine, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's key at the end of the day. It's about how we can best service and help that consumer.
Yeah.
And what's best for them, because that's going to have a lifetime impact on them.
Yeah.
It's not just your money will come today and go tomorrow.
Yeah. It's about doing things correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. The next question is from Sue. And what effect will it have on consumers' homes? So, what's the benefits? What's the negatives? What's the overall effect
Yeah.
that these grants will have on people.
I think the very first impact is, like we mentioned, is like having a warmer home.
Yeah,
When your home is warmer, you just feel better.
yeah, you're more
You feel
comfortable.
healthier. You're comfortable.
Yeah,
And you are becoming healthier. I've had customers who's actually said, you know what, I've become healthier.
that got to be such a great moment
You know,
when you hear that,
And that's incredible that it can
Wow.
have such an impact. And then if that's the case, it helps mental health, your depression.
Yeah.
People are depressed out there, that people are unaware
Yeah.
why and how, it's little things that make a big difference.
Instead of bill watching,
Yeah.
you're warmer, you're more
then-
comfortable, and
Reducing your bills.
you're
so
reducing your energy bills. Wow.
Absolutely.
That got
It's a
to be
win-win,
Yeah.
There's if you can get the right insulation done to your property, it can be life-changing.
Wow, that's
Definitely.
amazing. Robert has asked how to prepare for a survey. So, what should they be doing? I know we've touched on it briefly.
Well, what I tend to do is I'll send once I've booked a survey, I'll send an email out and let them know that, please have your utility bill at hand, your council tax bill at hand, some IDs that are going to be required, and also it will take about an hour and a half.
Yeah, okay.
Take all the right photographic evidence to take measurements, so they're aware that they'll be in the house. They'll be going through the whole house,
Yeah,
taking photographs. Make sure you know the person that's come
yeah.
to you from the company.
Do you have to be the homeowner, or can you be a tenant?
Yeah, at that point you can be the tenant,
So it's the bill payer of the
bill
bills.
payer of the property.
Yeah,
So
so
they need to sign all the documentation. So also make them aware that there'll be some documents that they need to, sign. And then we're going to go away, do the assessment. Then we get the design done to the property. Once the design's been signed off and the customer's happy for the progression, we get the installation date fixed in.
Yeah.
Once the date's fixed in, it's all installed, and then it goes to the coordinator. And then sometime, a few weeks after that, you get maybe handover packs.
Oh, amazing. So if you rent a property, you can still get this grant.
Yeah. So you got to get your landlord
Permission.
So they sign documents to say that they agree.
And what landlord wouldn't
Yeah, absolutely.
give you permission to
Get the house insulated for free.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So, like, if you rent, and you think, oh, I can't get any grant or anything because I'm not the homeowner, then all you've got to do, if you qualify, is ask permission. And like 9 out of 10 landlords are definitely going to say yes, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, there's no skin off the nose. It's getting hold of them and getting the paperwork through, getting their permission sorted. But yeah, it does happen. It's fine.
So it's going to increase the value of that home
Absolutely,
then?
it's going to increase the value. It's less complaints from their tenant.
Yeah, so a win-win.
Always for it.
Yeah. So with increasing the value of the home, it's going to increase the energy efficiency of the home, increase the EPC rating of the property.
Yeah.
So it really is a win-win for the tenant and the landlord.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it is a win-win, definitely for the landlord as well, adding value to their home.
And so say you're a landlord and you've got multiple properties. Can you only do it on one, or can you do it on multiple?
It comes down to their tenant. So if they're on benefits.
Yes.
So it depends on the actual property, what it's entitled to, the EPC rating again, and looking at if they're on benefits to progress it to a whole house approach if it's the Eco4.
Yeah, so as long as the tenant qualifies, then if you've got multiple properties and multiple tenants qualify for this grant, it's not one property would get it. It's on a case-by-case basis depending on who qualifies.
Recommend landlords to make a phone call and to just say, right, okay, these are the properties. What can be done? What can be done on these?
Oh, so landlords can reach out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Landlords could reach out and say, right, these are the properties. What can be done on them?
So, are you a landlord with multiple properties? Reach out to find out if your properties qualify for eco grants. How you qualify is dependent on your tenants, if they're low income, if they've got health issues, and if their EPC or tax band bracket qualifies for grants. So get in touch with Anita, get in touch with Hale, and the possibilities are there for you to increase the value and make your properties more energy efficient.
Yeah, sure. We're going to get bombarded now, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. The next question is from me. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. I just... I can't
is
help
it squeaking?
Yeah. The next question is from me, and it's, what is the most rewarding part of working in the funding schemes?
I think the most rewarding part working in the funding scheme is definitely for people who can't afford having a warmer home, and have them tell you how it's made a difference to them.
Yeah.
You know, how they used to be so ill and now they're feeling better and they're healthier than before, and their bills have gone down. I think you just can't put a price on that. Really.
Especially in
it's
cost
changing
of living.
people's lives.
Yeah. So can you think back to a specific customer that you remember speaking to that really opened your mind to what you're doing and how you're helping people?
Yeah, so we just finished her this lady's external wall insulation, and she'd been suffering basically heart problems, breathing problems, and she just found that since the house was a lot warmer, she was making so much more progression in her well-being, and she was able to do things and that she wasn't able to do before.
Wow.
And it was just amazing that she's actually shared that with me, and I was like, I've made that difference to this person.
So rewarding.
And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And she goes, she goes, thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah, you've got to be chuffed and over the moon with being able to help people in that way.
Yeah.
Something as simple as...
it's not, you think insulations, it's not the most attractive industry to be in, for sure, but it's not always about it being attractive, and it's what impact it's having on people's lives.
I agree.
And we underestimate that.
It's the same as heating. It's all like construction in general, it's not the pop star world, sometimes it's tough, but little snippets of...
that's what makes it worthwhile and keeps you going.
Yeah, 100%. What benefit on bills? So percentage-wise, can you think of an example of how you're helping the consumer reduce their utility costs? What's the average lowering of utility bills from what you're doing?
It varies depending on the households and the size of the properties, but on average you're looking at about 30%.
So by doing this work, you can reduce your utility bills by 30%. And we know solar, you can reduce your bills by 60%. If you have a heat pump designed, installed, and explained properly, you can be 500 to 700% more efficient. So all these things grouped together, that's going to have a massive impact.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. People... going back to solar, people underestimate the power of having solar. It's like at the moment in time, you're paying that money out already anyway to people without any control of it going up and down.
Yeah, I know.
And with having solar with the battery pack, you're becoming the owner of your own electric.
Yeah.
So that's so powerful.
Yeah. You become your own power company, more or less,
I like that pun.
Yeah.
You're becoming, so powerful yourself that you're actually in control.
Yeah.
Because there's only one way electric prices are going.
It's going up again in February.
There you go.
They've taken the cap off. Who knows what it's going up? More and more people are going to have solar. Every home in the UK will have to have solar in the next 20 years. How soon is it going to be until the government taxes the sun? So when everyone jumps on solar, which they're going to, at what point does the government say, okay, we are not making as much money from electricity now, we have to tax the generation on people's roofs? So the quicker you opt in on solar and you get an installation done, the more you're going to be able to maximize your savings. The longer it takes, the less you're going to get a return on your investment, in my personal opinion. You see, I think in Romania, so in Romania at the moment, they're generating so much electricity from solar, they've actually started taxing and charging people to export. So they're not saving money now, they're being charged for their export.
Wow.
So, at the minute, it's VAT exempt,
You're getting paid for the export.
You're getting paid. How long is it going to be? If you were a slow starter on this, how long is it going to be until that sort of thing happens?
Yeah, in the long run, it'll end up costing more money.
Yeah, so it's beneficial to jump on it.
Demands will go higher.
Yeah, 100%.
The demands are higher, the prices go up.
Yeah, so in my personal opinion, I think people should be jumping on this ASAP.
Now.
Because you're going to be...
Now's the best time.
Now's the best time, yeah.
Yeah, before next year when the grants kick in.
Yeah.
Those of you that wouldn't be eligible for a grant, it's definitely to get the solar on a private basis now.
Yeah. We are lowering utility bills, from 60 to 90% in some cases. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's a massive, life-changing figures.
Yeah. In one property, there was, their bill was like £150. We put 10 panels on a roof with a battery, and we've reduced their bill to £7 a month.
I mean, that's
like
just
in the summer.
That is just ridiculous, isn't it? So it's just like your money you're already spending at the moment. Why not spend it that way? So it's going in the future. That's like
so 95% saving on their utility bill. Do you know what I mean? That's not going to be in every single case because
depends on the size of the roof. It depends on how many panels they can get on there.
Every case is different. Everyone's got different usage. Everyone's got different sized families. In some cases, there's different sized roofs. There's different sized budgets where you can put a starter pack battery in or a larger battery in or a larger system in. So it all depends on that. But
I mean, if somebody's quite, financially say things are tight for them, would you say to start off with solar and then slowly, if you need to add battery, you do it gradually?
No, I'd say start off with a starter pack. So our starter packs is a 5.6 kilowatt battery with a solar panel installation on your roof, because that way you're optimizing your utility bill savings, because the electricity you generate when you're not in the home, you store in your battery.
Storing it straight away.
Because if you just put solar on a roof and you were not in and it's the middle of the summer, then you haven't got no devices on. So that's just getting exported back to the grid.
Yeah.
So it's not on... So the savings in solar, or the return on your investment in solar, is not just in the generation. It's in using your generation instead of exporting off the grid, because that's how you maximize your saving potential. If you've just got solar on its own and it's going into your system but you're not storing it, then you only get paid in peak hours 7 pence per unit, where in peak hours you would pay for electricity at say 28 pence per unit. So with a battery, what you do is you store that unit in your batteries, and then when it comes time for using it, instead of exporting straight from the grid, you just use that battery storage or what you're still generating to save that 28 pence.
And how are you showing the customer that about their usage? How can they see?
How can they see so what we do is we do it on our software. So we design the systems bespoke per customer, per property, and it all depends on what they're using. So if they was using, I don't know, say 5,000 kilowatts a year, and you put, say, a 10-panel system on their property, then that 10-panel system would be a percentage of their usage. So it would offset their bill by a certain percentage, so maximising savings.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's the best thing you could possibly do right now in this current climate, definitely.
Yeah, it's all about the energy saving and reducing your utility bills in the current economical crisis.
But more importantly, getting it through hail heating. Because at least you know you're with the right people, you've got the support, you've got the right mindset behind it, you're thinking about the customer, and you know that's all very important.
No, I really appreciate that. It's nice to know that, you know, people are seeing what we're trying to do within the company, and it's the same with you. Like, your values align with what we have in the company.
Hence we're here together.
Yeah,
doing this
podcast. Yeah, definitely. It's so important to choose the right company so that they have your best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
So what are your plans for the future?
So currently we're recruiting.
Okay.
So we're looking for people in customer services.
Yep.
We're looking for project managers, maybe retrofit coordination.
Okay.
Some people with experience with submission. So we're looking for people for starts in, like, the job starts for January.
Okay, fantastic. So you're going to be all in-house. So it's going to be a one size fits all. They come to you, everything's in-house, and gets
absolutely
done properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So it just makes the whole process a lot smoother.
How do people inquire about these roles?
Yeah, they could send in some information or contact us by email. That's Anita at BECO. So that's BEECO.co.uk.
Okay, great.
They get details from the website, and or, you know, they could send you can call in, leave the details behind, and then I can give them the email address.
Oh, amazing. That's great. Anything else you've got planned?
So there's a lot of work we're working on in-house that we're building and sorting out. So that the rest of this year is focused on getting that structure up and ready for next year.
So build the foundations and then watch the rest flourish from there then, really.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Okay, great. You've got a website. You're going to be working with a new marketing team.
Yeah, we're working with We Build Trades.
Yes, I work with We Build Trades too. I feel
so
they're
Danny,
fantastic.
shout out to Danny.
Yeah, hey up, Dan.
So we're looking forward to that, and it's sort of halfway through. So we're still working. He's waiting on us at the moment to get some stuff in. So yeah.
What's the timeline that's all going to be finished?
So we're looking at end of November.
Okay.
Hopefully on that.
That's great. So, what are you most looking forward to for the next year? What's really...
Oh, we've got a lot planned for next year. We'll be motoring. Basically, the idea is that we'll continue to develop the home insulation.
Yes.
Mostly moving towards more the private sector as well.
Yeah.
And then looking at the actual solar and air source heat pumps for the renewables in March 2026.
So big things planned. So watch this space.
2025, isn't it?
Yeah, 2025. So BECO is taking over the grant and the private sector within the West Midlands area. So everyone, if you need any insulation, solar, heat pump, or anything like that, please reach out to Anita and the team, and they got your best interests at heart. They've got great values, and they'll really look after you. So yeah, thank you very, very, very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's okay. Oh, I'm falling over. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for you guys for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you need anything from us, please reach out and let us know, and see you on the next episode.
Wow.